Do we need to press?
Oh, that's it.
Oh, we are live.
Yes, we are. Okay.
Awesome. Wow. That's exciting. I think you need to press.
Amazing.
You need to press go live.
Alright.
Go live.
And then
Hello.
Amazing.
awesome. Cool. Well, it's World Manta Day today. Welcome everyone for joining. And yeah, very excited. We are in the Maldives. My name is Maren, and I am the marketing and communications manager at PADI for the environment and sustainability team. And the exciting thing is I am here with two of our wonderful AmbassaDivers, Madeline and Clair and Nate Porter. We are sitting in the Maldives. We have the ocean literally right there, but it's dark. It's 9 p.m. here. We are at Avani Forest and have been diving already with the beautiful, wonderful team from Aquaphonetics for PADI Aware Week. Do you quickly want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, firstly, thank you so much for having us to celebrate World Manta Day and PADI Aware Week. So my name is Mads. I am a coral reef biologist and I'm currently studying manta rays in Raja Ampat. I'm also a wildlife filmmaker as well, and I've had a lot of incredible opportunities over the years to film and study these species. I actually started my career in manta ray science here when I was an intern for Manta Trust many years ago. So I'm really excited and grateful to be back here. Hopefully we'll get out onto the water tomorrow to see mantas. You already saw mantas yesterday, of course. So yeah, really excited to chat about them.
Yeah. My name's Nate. I'm from Hawaii in the States, and I am an underwater filmmaker as well as an expedition leader. I live full-time on a couple expedition sailboats, sailing around the world and documenting all the beautiful stuff beneath the water, as well as, of course, a PADI AmbassaDiver, which brings us to you today. So that's me.
Awesome. Well, yeah, as I said already, we're here for PADI Aware Week. We've done a few wonderful workshops and presentations and dives. Do we just want to dive in what we've done so far already so people know as well?
Yeah, I went out on like day one. They were like, let's go film mantas. And we've seen so many mantas. And there's been a couple of days where I missed, there was like manta trains, up to 40 of them, which is incredible. I thought that I had seen big aggregations of mantas beforehand, but not like this. Apparently Maldives is a whole nother level of manta madness, you could say. I think before this, the most I'd ever seen grouped together was maybe like 9. And I thought, I was in manta soup at that point. So yeah, so I'm really excited to be here. And then at the end of that dive, we came up and on our safety stop, there was a whale shark. So if you've heard crazy stories about the Maldives, they're all true. I'm here to tell you that it is all true. And then you need to book your way to Avani Fairs and get here because it is incredible. And I did a manta ray specialty course, which was...
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Yeah, that was really fun. Just teaching everything I know about manta rays, getting people stoked for the beautiful animal that they were all about to see. And I've been doing free diving. It's been a great week so far.
Yeah. And you had a really good day today.
Yes, so this morning we kicked off the Coral Awareness Specialty course, which was really fun. We had a great turnout and lots of very excited questions about coral. That's my other baby. And then we did a small restoration workshop as well, talked a little bit about why restoration is necessary, under what conditions it's necessary, and kind of a little bit about how structures are placed underwater as well. So it's been really great start to Aware Week. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and for tomorrow, I think there's 4 boats going out to go and snorkel with mantas. So lots of in-house guests joining as well all of us obviously going out. So hopefully this will be great. So we're in the Maldives now, but obviously you've traveled the world, you've sailed around the world. Tell us about your favorite manta stories, how your love for manta started.
Ooh, you want to start?
Gosh, I think my love for mantas, I think actually started in Komodo. We were talking about Komodo at dinner earlier. I remember seeing one in passing, like just the wingtip during my dive master. This was 10 years ago in Gili Air, and by that point there had been a place on the island called Manta Point, but sadly not really any mantas seen there anymore, so they changed the name to Sunset Point. And I saw a wingtip of a manta and I was like, oh my God, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen, even though I didn't really see it. But still counts, I still counted it. And then I looked into, okay, where can I go that's nearby to see manta rays? I ended up going to Nusa Penida twice, and I must have been the most unlucky human in the entire world because I didn't see any. And so then I was like, right, I need to go to Komodo. So I ended up going to Komodo, and I saw them for the first time. I was overwhelmingly lucky in that occasion. I think I had a manta train of 6 or 7 coming straight overhead, and from then on it was just like manta all over the park. And so that's kind of where the love affair began. I was already, I just finished my degree training as a marine scientist, and I already was obsessed with coral reefs. But this was the first time that I really got into, I guess, megafauna. And, I'd seen a fair few sharks by this point, but the second I saw a manta, it's game over. I was like, that's what I want to study. This is something we can't lose from these ecosystems. And yeah, even to this day, I get emotional when I see them. You were talking yesterday about the eye contact. There's so much behind the eyes. So much going on that, How about you? When was your first?
I had 400 scuba dives before I saw a manta ray, which is an immense amount of dives, I believe. And I was guiding in Hawaii and teaching scuba at the time. And I remember it being almost like a monkey that got on my back. And I was like, how am I not seeing manta rays? Like, what am I doing wrong? Why do they hate me? And I remember it being such a thing for me. And then I had a moment in Maui, finally, where it was for me, it was a very touching moment. I had a dive that went wrong. And if there's any diving guides or instructors out there, you'll know what we're saying, where things just don't go as planned. Current was going the wrong way. We get kicked out in the blue, and we saw absolutely nothing. And I had some real deep mental thoughts that day. Like, what am I doing with my life? As we all do, right? And you'd be surprised, after, if scuba diving becomes normal for you, like your mind can wander, especially when you're not seeing anything. And I was coming up from the dive and just kind of feeling really down, like, And at that moment, this giant manta ray just came up from the depth. And I think out of my group, everybody had maybe 20, 30 bar, like not a lot left. Like it's the very end of our safety stop, about to hit the surface. And this manta ray comes up and just starts barrel rolling under me. And I check everybody's air quick. And as they were like on their last breath, because we didn't see anything. So to be fair, it's like I let them like run their tanks low. So they're all popping up. And then at the end, I just stayed down by myself with that manta ray, just dancing around. And it really changed me. And then after that moment, I saw them all the time.
Well, that barrier just needed to be broken, I guess.
Yeah. So, now I've seen thousands of manta rays, and I can tell you that every single time they're special for me. And if there's one animal I can just sit there and just gawk at them, I will do that.
Yeah. No, I mean, yesterday when we were diving, I also like how he was just flying, gliding above us, and like literally it looked at you. Like it's just the feeling in being in the water with them is incredible. So like hopefully we see a few more tomorrow. Because the group that went literally in the afternoon was much more lucky than us. We saw like 2 or 3, but they stayed with us for the whole time, which is wonderful. But the other group obviously saw like a massive thing.
Yeah.
So we didn't go into Hanifara Bay itself because we were on scuba. So from tomorrow we only go snorkeling, and we can actually go into the marine protected area. So hopefully they will be all there getting cleaned.
Well, actually, they're generally feeding in the bay.
Oh, in the bay they're feeding. Okay.
Yeah, there is a cleaning station. There are 2 cleaning stations actually in the bay as well. But those big trains, they're feeding.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
So hopefully they're feeding in the bay.
Yeah. Hopefully they're feeding
Hopefully
in the
there's
bay.
lots of plankton.
Wonderful. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, mantas are such a special species, like so many other marine species, but they're obviously well under threat.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so mantas and devil rays, mobulids, as a collective are under threat as a species, and there are two reasons for this. One of them is that they frequent coastal areas, so they overlap with a lot of fishing areas and a lot of fishing zones.
Yeah.
And so they are caught as bycatch. And then the second reason is the targeted manta ray fisheries. Manta rays and mobulids are in some places still caught for meat. I mean, the meat off a manta ray isn't actually that great. There are a very few places in the world where manta ray meat is still traded. But above all else, and the reason for a very sharp decline in manta rays is actually the Chinese medicine trade. So this traditional medicine trade that has been around for a very, very long time. We've all heard of shark fin soup.
Yes.
But there's a bit of a difference between manta rays and shark fins. The gill plates that are taken from manta rays to be sold into the medicine trade. This is a lot newer than the shark fin trade is. So shark fins, you can see it written back in literature a long, long time ago, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It's been around for a very long time. It's been a status symbol, something that you would serve at weddings traditionally, something that implies wealth. But the gill plates, that is much newer. I think the first mention of them being used in Chinese medicine was only in the 80s or 90s.
Okay.
And a reasoning behind this. So one of the health benefits is supposedly to do with respiratory issues. And so one of the theories behind this is that with the industrialization of China and the increase in respiratory illnesses, that the Chinese medicine traders came up with a new concept, which is, manta rays filter the water. Well, why can't their gills then filter the toxins out of the air for all the respiratory problems that a developing China was facing? And so, unfortunately, it's given rise to a huge industry and a huge demand for their trade. So what we can see is that in the 90s particularly, there was a very, very sharp decline, and in the early noughties as well of manta rays, where we were seeing 90% crashes in populations. And even to this day, the trade is still very strong. Manta Trust has done fantastic work over the years in researching manta rays, helping inform marine protected areas, and also in helping get manta rays onto the CITES list. So that is the list that basically regulates trade for endangered species. The issue that we have at the moment, and this is something that hasn't been spoken about an awful lot, is the fact that alongside the very illegal trade of trading manta rays for these gills and illegally fishing them and unsustainably fishing them, is that there are still legal loopholes that exist, and CITES kind of opens up a very big one, because where an endangered species falls on that list, you have Appendix 1, Appendix 2, and Appendix 3. Appendix 1 is the highest protection that you can afford for an endangered species. So that means no international trade. It's completely banned internationally. And all governments have to agree on this. They have to vote for this. And actually, I don't know if they all have to agree, but maybe there's a certain number to pass the vote, a majority. Manta rays and devil rays currently fall in Appendix 2. So manta rays were voted into Appendix 2 in 2013, followed by devil rays in 2016. But in Appendix 2, as long as a country issues permits and says that it will not harm, the populations of wildlife locally, they will issue permits to people. There's a video, I don't know if you saw it, that went viral the other day of some people fishing manta rays in, I think it was America's water, and people kicked off. I think they're actually fishing them for the aquarium trade rather than for the gill trade. They were taking them alive, and the people were screaming off the boat, "We have permits." And unfortunately, if they've been given permits by the government to take them, there's actually not an awful lot you can do. And one of the main concerns, of course, is that if you have this legal loophole to do something and to trade this species, then there's a lot of illegal fishing that can come behind that and supply that trade.
Yeah, and I mean, as you say, like they've been now protected under Appendix 2 for like over 10 years, and the population hasn't grown back. So this is why governments are really trying now to put it on Appendix 1 and really strengthen the protection.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing that's really interesting is we have some really incredible marine protected areas for manta rays here in the Maldives. I think you have the largest population of reef mantas in the world. When I last checked, I think it was around 60 or 70,000 individuals.
Oh, wow.
Wait, no, that's sightings. I think it was 7,500 individuals. I need to fact check myself on that.
It's a bit of a difference.
Times that by 10, not that. That is how many sightings of them there are per year, or at least there was when I was a research assistant for Manta Trust. And then you also have Indonesia as well. So you cannot fish manta rays at all within the national waters of Indonesia. There are several other countries around the world where there's a total ban on fishing manta rays. Not always also mobulids, the devil rays, but often manta rays. And in those places, we see manta ray populations really thriving. And because the other problem we have with manta rays is the fact that they, the compounding factor is they have a life history that means that they are very susceptible to any kind of trade because they are slow to grow, they're slow to mature. So it takes often over 10 years for a manta ray to reach sexual maturity and be able to contribute back to the population. And also they only have one pup every 1 to 2 years. And if you have a year where, for example, the food availability, the plankton is really bad, they probably won't produce the next year. And sometimes up to 7 years, they won't reproduce. So you have lots of factors that all come together. And then the other last point that I'd like to make is the fact that mantas are largely migratory. They migrate between different protected areas. In Indonesia, it's great because they're all kind of still within the confines of Indonesia, at least the reef mantas are. But for example, the oceanic manta rays that migrate through Maldives seasonally once a year, we know that they're coming here. We know that they leave here. We're not quite sure where before or where after yet, but they will be swimming into and out of the protected waters. And just across the pond, so to say, in Sri Lanka, you have one of the most active mobula ray and manta ray fisheries in the entire world. So that's not very far from here.
No.
And so the question is, if we can't protect them on a global scale just by using marine protected areas, how can we? And the answer to that is by really making sure that the legal trade is a roadblock. And that is everyone's agreeing that legally manta rays cannot be traded and fished between countries.
Yeah, and I mean, you just touched on it, and like you mentioned it in your presentation the other day, that actually tracking mantas is really hard, right?
Yeah, it is incredibly hard. They go extremely deep, and they can pop up just about everywhere. There's local populations for sure, but when they go on their migratory patterns, or when they can go extremely deep, so tagging them isn't really the best option. And yeah, that's but as far as what people can do, because of a lot of like Chinese medicine and things, like I think it's important to point out like what individuals watching might be able to do. And for that, I would say if you are a boatie or an ocean-loving person, if you know that you're in a manta ray populated area or just a wildlife populated area, slow down. I think that's number one. The amount of manta rays that I've seen with like the little scars and the cuts on them, or they're missing their tail, it's so obviously boat strikes. You see it all the time. Fishing lines on them. In the Ningaloo recently, I saw one just dangling a long fishing line, gets caught in their salmon puller, and then that tears off eventually, and that seems to maim them more than anything. So it's a point to like say it's like, oh, their problem, or it's because of like fishing and the trade in another country. Things that the average person can do, I think, will make a big impact on your local level. So if you are in one of those areas, or if you're visiting one of them and you feel like you have a voice, and like if you see people going fast, slow down. That would be my number one thing, I think.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, the number of people that you see racing, because often manta rays they're surface feeders a lot of the time. And the number of people you see racing towards them and right through them. And manta rays have this tiny little dorsal fin. It's not big like a shark's one. It's very small. It's about this big. And so it's not really a huge amount to see above the surface of the water. And so sometimes you might see one manta and then not realize that it's so many. And the number of boat strikes, especially here in Maldives, is huge. So slow down is definitely a really big one. And another good one for boaties as well is mooring lines, which you've just mentioned about entanglement with fishing line, but also they get tangled in mooring lines very easily. And mantas have a blind spot directly in front of them here because they have these eyes on the side of their heads. And so something that's very hard for them to pick out is a mooring line. So a really simple thing that you can do if you've got a boat or you have a mooring line near you and you have manta rays in your area is that you can take extra large cable ties or something else like that will stick out rigidly in the side and just attach them sideways on like a little tree up your mooring line. And this essentially, it won't do anything to the mooring, won't affect it at all, but it essentially widens the view of what else would just be a straight line for mantas to look at. So that's a really, really easy one that kind of anyone who is involved in the boating world can do as well.
Oh, that's an awesome, easy tip to actually, try and help the situation slightly. I mean, as you mentioned, Maldives is coming up. It's happening in November in Uzbekistan, and the PADI AmbassaDivers Foundation is actually the only organization within the diving industry that will be present.
Okay.
So we have Ian Campbell going on PADI Ware's team.
Amazing.
And he's going to be there to support the strengthening of protection. But it's not just mantas; it's also whale sharks and oceanic whitetips this year, which they're really trying to put stronger protections on, which is amazing. So that's happening from the 24th of November. Beforehand, we're actually from the 1st to the 21st of November, PADI and the PADI AmbassaDivers Foundation are actually trying to do a petition, trying to get 20,000 signatures for people to sign literally just help raise the voice and help governments to see the urgency of actually putting the protection stronger.
And where can people go to sign the petition?
So this will be on the PADI website. It will go live at the 1st of November. We'll also communicate all of this. And let you obviously know to share this with your audience as well. But that's definitely a great first step and something very easy everyone can do. Literally just put your name to it and help the protection of these beautiful animals.
I think that we also just really undervalue the power. Everyone undervalues the power of their own voice.
Yes.
Because we've got to that point, especially we have lots of conferences every year, lots more demands for protection. There are lots of things that we need to happen. And people, all of us, it's not just marine biologists or divers, it's everyone's voices who are needed behind us. And I always say, everyone says, what can I do? What can I do? And everyone wants to do something physical. And I understand that. But often the most powerful thing that you can do is also go and talk to your family and friends. Like no one else in my family, actually aside from my brother, is involved in the ocean space. And a few years ago, they wouldn't even have been able to name a manta ray, let alone speak to protecting it. So your voice and taking anything that you've learned about mantas or other species and their protection and telling as many people as you can, talk people's heads off. Go and find, kids that you can give presentations to, as many people as you can, because it's a really challenging time, and it's the time that we really need our leaders to take kind of note of these actions, and they're only going to do that if we are collectively, not just us in the dive world, but everyone talking about these issues.
I mean, Nate, you found this. We had a cocktail hour a couple of days ago, and you started talking to everyone about mantas, and so many people didn't really know what animal that was, right?
This happens often. And it's a funny thing in the dive community or dive instructor where, like, I saw a manta and you haven't described it. It's 9 times out of 10 is a stingray, which is fun. A manta ray. What is this beautiful animal? Well, we now have 3 kinds, right?
Yes.
So we have our normal coastal coral manta that you're going to see everywhere, which can get to about 5 meters across. And then you've got a pelagic manta or oceanic manta, which can get to about 7 meters across. That's going to be the first tell, is like the size difference. But to really see the difference of them, You have to, one of the best ways is if you're on top looking down, the pelagic or oceanic is a T on top. You can just see a definitive T, where the coastal one is a Y shape. So if you've seen a manta ray, it's probably a coastal manta ray. I have about 4,000 dives, and so I can't tell you how many times I was so sure it was a pelagic manta ray, and then I checked the footage, and it was not a pelagic manta ray. But there have been a handful of times, and then finally, in your neck of the woods, in a beautiful spot in Raja Ampat, I won't say the dive spot, but if you go there and you ask the locals, there is a place where you can see pelagic manta rays quite commonly. And when you see the difference, it's visually striking, but it's also, you can feel the difference between these two animals. I'll let you talk about that a little bit more.
No, I'd like to know what you feel
Yeah.
first. What difference do you feel?
What I feel.
I need to know.
So first off, a manta ray, they have, for any fish species, they have the largest brain. So there's a lot of thought that they are much more intelligent than even a whale shark.
Oh, yes.
Yes, 10 times more.
Yeah, whale sharks have a pea brain.
Yeah.
Whereas mantas, they have the largest brain to body size ratio of all fish.
And when you see these two different fish, because they are fish, when you see them looking back at you, I feel that you can certainly feel a manta ray like staring into your soul.
Yeah.
And from a pelagic manta ray or oceanic, I've had them come up right a couple centimeters away from me, stare me right in the eye, and just hover and look at me deeply. And I don't know if that's because they have bigger size, so they're like more sure of themselves that I couldn't possibly harm them. You're 7 meters across. Yeah. I don't know how many feet that is. I'm sorry for my American friends. But they're big. They'll take your breath away big. Yeah. And now, as of this year, we have a brand new Atlantic manta ray. I'm gonna give you give all the specs on our. I
haven't looked into it.
Okay.
I'm Indo-Pacific, so
Okay.
I obviously know it exists, and I've been stoked about the news. I haven't actually read the paper.
As of July of this year, 2025, they have deemed that there is a new manta ray. It's one that, of course, we've seen all this time, but they've said, no, this is a new genus. This is a new, completely different species. And it looks pretty identical, but when they put all the marks on it, I would ask that you look this up, new Atlantic manta ray, but a little bit different pattern, tiny bit smaller. And I had somebody tell me that they think that they're more slimy, which I don't know who's out there swabbing these manta rays.
There are people doing that. That is for real.
So
yeah.
It could be. And while we're on that subject, some manta rays, they do have a protective coating on them.
Yeah.
And it's important to know that, because as you see this beautiful creature and it's this close to your eye, you might have the urge to reach out and give it a little love, because it looks like it wants to give you love back. Fight that urge, because if you do, you might accidentally wipe off some of its protective coating, which is going to open it up to maybe infections or things like that. And I've seen that you can see when people have maybe touched them. One of my first careers with manta rays, trying to identify them, which people do, and that's a good way of tracking them, like where they pop up around the world, was in Kona, Hawaii. There's a night manta ray dive there. And because they're there, sometimes 30, 40 a night, they will inevitably kind of sometimes get damaged. And you can see like the boat strikes and this and that. You can definitely see when mantas are in high population areas, for sure. And unfortunately, I think you could see where they have streaks on them. And I don't know if that's from mooring lines or people, would it be, but they're definitely bumping into stuff down there. So, and don't use your silly GoPro on a stick. Don't do that. Put that away, because as she said, if they can't see a mooring wall, they can't see your silly stick. That's a known thing. Bad diver. Put that away.
Well, just on what you were saying about mantas being covered in injuries and scrapes and stuff, one of the fantastic things about mantas, and a lot of sharks have this as well, is they have a fantastic ability to heal. And you'd be surprised. I mean, this is not by any means encouraging people to drive boats faster or to feel okay about touching manta rays, which you definitely shouldn't do. But they have this fantastic ability to heal, and it means that they can heal from some of the gnarliest injuries, and I mean really bad. Before my time here in Bar Atoll, there's a very famous manta called Baba Ganoush, who's very beloved by the internet, by Manta Trust teams. And then one day he was sadly hit by a speedboat, and he got really chopped up, and I mean so chopped up at the back of him that he lost his reproductive parts, lost his tail, and also his intestines were actually spilling out the back.
Oh gosh.
It was very, very graphic, and these images were shared on social media.
And that was before the name Baba Ganoush?
He was already named Baba. Well, yeah, the prophecy was self-fulfilling, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, he did look very Baba Ganoush at that point. And then he basically they were posting updates, kind of live updates, the team that was out here. And what he did was he actually stayed in Hanafara Bay because there's a cleaning station there. It's very protected in the bay, and he would clean on the cleaning station. And after the first few days, they kind of thought, hey, maybe he's actually not going to die. I mean, his injuries are horrific. His organs are coming out the back. And then, after a couple of weeks, they were like, oh, okay, like he's actually fine. He's not fine, but like he's objectively fine. And then, a few months pass, and what's grown over the top of his injuries is, they've all sealed over. And you can see as well when manta rays are kind of a diamond shape, whenever they have injuries on the wingtips or on the back as far back as he did, they're actually able to regenerate these parts of them. So if they have, a chunk, let's say here, taken out by a shark, there is photographic evidence to show that it gets filled back in by what's thought to be scar tissue. It's kind of with the cartilage is essentially regenerated. And so that they're actually able to heal. And so Baba Ganoush is absolutely fine. He's still cracking on today. When I worked here, love to see him. He's got all these weird wibbly bits at the back where he was chopped up by the propeller, and they've just healed, but these individual blobs. And bless him, he was getting involved in the mating chains. He doesn't realise that he's got nothing going on down there. Still going off with the ladies.
So maybe we see him tomorrow.
Yes, if we see him, you can't miss him. He's a tiny manta with blobby back. But yeah, and so they have this fantastic ability to heal, and one of the things that it's attributed to is that ability to clean at the cleaning stations and have the little cleaning fish keep these wounds incredibly clean, which sharks obviously also do. But I mean, it's really crazy because if it had just been a little bit further up, he would have been a goner.
Oh wow! And I mean, if he's still around, so how old do mantas actually get?
Do you know that? People ask me this question all the time, and I've just never thought to look the answer up. I think in captivity it's like 30 years.
Just because I did the presentation, I happened to look it up.
I'm glad you did.
Yes, they don't know is the actual answer.
That's why I don't know. There we go.
If no one knows, you can't know.
They speculate up to 50 years, but they actually don't know, and it could be much longer. So,
well, the thing is, if you look back at these photos from fish markets in like the 20s, the manta rays are massive. Like over 10 meters across.
They definitely used to get much larger.
And the question is, was it that there was another species back then that
was just much bigger?
It was much bigger, or is it that we have overfished manta rays so prolifically that they don't reach that size anymore?
Yeah. Look that up online, guys. I know what you're talking about. They would hold them up with like cranes.
Yeah, with cranes. They are massive.
They look fake. The pictures, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're real. So back to, unless you have a different question, I think it's important to, like I mentioned earlier, that people think they see a manta, but it might have been a stingray. Big animal, black and white. You'll know it when you see it. I promise you this. They have a long tail out the back. The tail is harmless. It's important to know that the manta rays are completely harmless. So yeah, it's not a stinger that's going to hit you on the back of them. And some areas of the world, or is this one of your questions? Areas of the world that you could probably see manta rays are definitely going to be here, Maldives, which put to the top of your list. Hawaii, Big Island is definitely a big spot. Australia, both sides, you get the Great Barrier Reef and Ningaloo is big aggregations of them there as well. And Socorro Island, if you want to find what we were talking about, oceanic or pelagic, you can find them there. That's a hard one. It's a hard one to get to, but worth it. And then Indonesia, which is your neck of the woods now, all throughout Indonesia, Komodo, Nusa Penida, and Raja Ampat. And
pretty much all over the archipelago.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Those are the hot spots, I feel.
Yeah.
Are there other hot spots that you can think of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm kidding.
Don't go to the secret spot, the secret mountain spot.
No, I think this is actually a really interesting point of the conversation because it's one that we haven't touched on, and that is another threat to manta rays, and it's a novel threat, which is mass tourism.
Yeah.
Manta rays, where we aggregate as divers to go and see manta rays, is where we are most likely to find them. And where are we most likely to find them? In areas that they clean.
Yeah.
It's kind of a really rare thing, to be able to predict so accurately where on the reef. It's not like a whale where you're going to be like, this whale is going to be here probably on this tide under this moon. It's the chances of us being able to see a manta ray, knowing the environmental conditions and knowing exactly where they clean on a reef is so high that it means that unfortunately tourism has increased to such a point where we are now actually threatening manta rays. This behavior of cleaning, as I said, it's already vital for keeping themselves healthy, recovering from injuries. But we have to be careful that if we are, in their home, at their space, at this cleaning station, we are being respectful of it.
Yes.
You already mentioned we cannot dive in Hanafari Bay. So Hanafari Bay is a very key area here in the Maldives. It's home to the site of the largest known aggregation ever of manta rays. I think it was 270 mantas at one time. And it's really, really important that when they are doing these key behaviors, feeding, cleaning, that we're not disrupting them and moving them away from that, whether it's by not driving boats there. So you also cannot drive boats across Hanafari Bay. Divers aren't allowed in there, so it's just free divers and snorkelers. And Hanafari Bay is actually a great example. They have rangers as well of a really well protected area. There's obviously a lot of tourism in the Maldives, a lot of resorts. We're at one right now as well. And that's actually very, very well managed and very well protected. But there are lots of places, obviously, in the world where manta ray tourism is perhaps increasing. I'm sure it's quite well regulated in Hawaii, actually.
Yeah.
But there are obviously spots where it's not so well regulated. And Nusa Penida is a great example of that. There's been deaths, human deaths, because of the boat traffic and sadly propeller injuries. A few more regulations got put in place, so it's a little bit safer now. Boats can't approach so close to the cleaning station. And there are so many people there, snorkelers, divers, tourists, like it's crazy. And
the same often with whale sharks as well.
Maldives has a very big problem down in South Ariatotle, particularly with often hundreds of people and one whale shark. And so it's always, I talk about gatekeeping for nature. There's a big hoo-ha about gatekeeping anything on social media these days, but we are getting to that point with tourism where some spots actually must remain sacred for nature in the interest of nature surviving. Cleaning stations for mantas are one of those spots where, there's a lot of places they can clean. We just need to make sure that we're protecting some of them.
For good conversation or debate about the other side of this, because there are places, Australia, Hawaii, they're not going to eat the manta ray. It's not going to happen. But there are places in the world where this ecotourism debate, I've heard it both sides, where there are places that the amount of money and tourism that is coming into an area or an island makes the value of that manta ray go through the roof.
Yes.
We've talked about this with other species here. There's like so many of them. But when a whale shark, I'll just use a different animal might help. In Malapascua, for instance, in Mexico, they used to hunt the whale sharks, just like a lot of places with mantas. Now, during the whale shark season, all of those fishermen become tour operators. And yes, there is propeller strikes. Yes, there is things. And no, it's not the most sustainable way of doing it. But they're not hunting them anymore. No. And if they were to dare hunt them, the entire community would come after them because now their livelihood relies on that animal. So we're in this weird place. And I don't think it's definitely not a long-term answer, but it certainly is. I've seen a huge shift with ecotourism, even just in the last 15 years, which some places they're highly benefiting from that animal being there and becoming known for that animal.
Absolutely, and that's not something I disagree with. The whole alternative livelihoods debate is one that we could get into forever. I find this so interesting because it's something that I also work in this realm, which is how can we provide alternative livelihoods to communities that, you know, initially fish species, and how can we replace that with tourism? And as we are learning, you know, with all the case studies there's been a lot of work that's been done around this in the last 20, 30 years. And for example, Raja Ampat, where I am, is one of the best enforced marine protected areas because there's such high local buy-in. No one fishes sharks there within the marine protected area anymore because most people are involved in tourism. But as we're seeing now, for example, and this is off the topic of Manta specifically, but because now tourism is so high and the infrastructure wasn't perhaps there in time, we are having problems with pollution, sewage pollution, which is in turn killing the reefs, which in turn is going to affect the mantas. But my point being, sustainable alternative livelihoods is really, really important. And I'm not against ecotourism. What I'm actually against is mass tourism. And that's the responsibility that we all have with platforms, PADI, us, and you yourself, Nate, as well, is we have the capacity to send a lot of people to a very small destination in a very short amount of time. And the rise of viral reels and viral TikToks, particularly for things like swimming with manta rays and swimming with whale sharks, we have a responsibility to make sure that, I'm all for, I would love everyone in the world to see a manta ray. I'd love everyone to do that responsibly and ethically. And it's about how, when I talk about gatekeeping nature to protect nature, I don't mean that I don't want people to see mantas. And I definitely agree with alternative livelihoods, and tourism is a great one there. But I do, when I talk about social media and the way that we encourage people to see them, it's to go out with responsible operators and to make sure that you're ethically interacting with wildlife.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's go over, like, what does that mean? And like, how do you know? And I think let's just take it from a personal responsibility way. Right? So you want to go see a manta ray, which I want you to go see a manta ray. It will change your life. It will make you an ocean-loving human from that time forward, which will change a lot of aspects about you. But when you go to see said manta ray, think about how to interact with it, and I'll give you just a couple tips. That a manta ray, if they're at a cleaning station at least, or even kind of when they're feeding, it's kind of like this ballet that they do, right? Now imagine that you're like at the nightclub, you're dancing with your friends, and all of a sudden somebody busts in the door and starts chasing everybody around. You're all going to leave the nightclub, right? But if somebody just came in there quietly and just sat in the middle of the dance floor quietly, you might not even notice them. Be that person. If they're like on a cleaning station, which is a lot of time a little pinnacle, get up to the cleaning station, sink down real low, bring your little GoPro stick back down next to you, and just be in awe of it. And then just make sure you don't grab the coral, just sit there quietly. And even if you see the manta ray, go away. Your first thought might be, I'm going to turn around and go where it's going. Don't do that.
Just
By
wait.
it will come back around you. And the more quiet and part of the ballet or the dance you become, the more likely that manta is going to stick around as long as it chooses to. So that's putting it back on the person themselves. That's how to interact. Any other tips on?
I want to come back to what you said at the beginning of this as well, which is how do you know about choosing a responsible operator? And one of the hardest things is choosing one. What I would like to see is all tour operators have like a code of ethics and a guide on their website. That doesn't happen. Unfortunately, it's not commonplace. Like, it's just not in the industry. When I run expeditions, I have a wildlife code of conduct, and if you break those rules on my trip, you're off. I don't care if you're a paying client. Like, if you're disrupting nature, you're out. Unfortunately, there are several disruptive practices in ecotourism in general, to do with manta specifically, that I don't like. and I will never endorse. And my top one is, if you choose to go out with an operator that says, if we cannot guarantee you a manta ray sighting, we will refund you your money, I can guarantee you that that person is probably not going to be operating in the most ethical way. Because if there's one thing that we cannot guarantee, and I've just talked at length about how great it is that we can find mantas at these spots. Quite like it's one of the easiest animals to find, so we know where they'll be.
Well, it's still not.
But it's still not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Wildlife. We work on wildlife's time. They do not sadly work on ours. And unfortunately, if you're guaranteeing money back for not seeing a manta ray, of course it's disappointing if you don't get to see a manta and it's your only one shot and you've traveled across the world and you've had one day out. That obviously sucks. And I feel for you. But if you're expecting to get your money back, then you're in the wrong place, son. You should go to an aquarium, which I also personally would not like to see a manta ray in an aquarium, just to clarify. But if you want guaranteed sightings of an animal, the only place you could do that is by going to an aquarium or a zoo. And the beauty of nature, the real beauty of it, is having those serendipitous moments where, oh my God, it's come, it's looked at me, it's made that connection. I've sat here quietly and the animal has wanted to circle back and come and see me. So I think with ecotourism, it is really hard to know. And what I would say on that is, say you've gone out on an expedition or a wildlife boat and you've seen something that you're not happy with, you think that the operator isn't doing something ethical, call it out. And that's something that a lot of people are afraid to do. You might think, okay, this person's a marine biologist, or this person's been driving boats for 50 years. If they're acting unethically, don't be afraid to say something. A lot of times in my career, I've been told to sit down and shut up when I've seen things that I disagreed with. Unfortunately, they were talking to the wrong person, because I rarely sit down and shut up. A lot of people didn't change what they were doing, but at least I could go back to my circles and tell people, hey, don't go out with these guys because they're not interacting responsibly with wildlife.
No, exactly. And I mean, about 2 years ago, PADI's actually started the eco centers. So where dive centers are operating in an eco-friendly, very sustainable way. They need to follow certain rules. They need to be part of green fins. So they're very regulated and need to fulfill certain criteria on an annual basis to actually stay accredited as an eco center. So you actually know that these are credible places and operators to go with, which so that's obviously only for diving, but so that's one option.
And I think we have a really long way to go in terms of the thing about tourism, especially manta ray tourism. As you mentioned, Nate, like, we have manta rays all over the world. You can find them in pretty much any country really in the tropics that has coral reefs, ocean. And the issue is, how do you standardize? We can standardize the trade of manta rays, but how do you standardize tourism? Every country has different legal requirements, ethical requirements for wildlife. Some places ban this, some places ban that, some places don't. And within those places, it's also very, very hard to enforce. A lot of the places you find manta rays are incredibly remote. A lot of them are protected areas on paper, but don't actually have anyone there to enforce them. We call them paper parks. They have no money, no people to enforce them. And so it is a really, really hard thing to regulate how we protect these animals, not just from overfishing and other threats, bycatch, but also how do we protect them from us if we have no one there to police people. So it is challenging.
Yeah, but I mean, you were giving some great tips, and next year actually PADI and the PADI Aware Foundation are launching the Shark and Ray specialty course. So with lots of helpful information for anyone who loves sharks and rays to learn more facts, and especially also how to protect them. So that's definitely coming out next year, as well as the Global Shark and Ray Census, which is basically a census where we want to try and mobilize every diver, every snorkeler, every ocean lover, every sailor, everyone who's in on the water and encounters sharks and rays. They can give the information into the database, which is going to live in CAP. CAP is our conservation action portal, where we collect all the data and then work with James Cook University in Australia to congregate all the information, all the data to see and over a long time see where populations are, how they're doing over time, which will hopefully help with more protections. But there's quite a big data gap at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously data is so essential because if we have data, we can then make better decisions about the ecosystem. And you were mentioning earlier about the being able to take photos of the belly spots of manta rays.
Yeah.
That fills in a massive blind spot for tagging, where tagging can't, because we can track populations just from citizen science photographs. And the power of citizen science is so underrated. And us as divers. And so many divers take a camera now, an Insta360, a GoPro. You're collecting data every day. You've got the time data immediately, you've got the location data, and you've probably got some video or photo capture of wildlife. And that's really, really useful. And knowing more about populations, how big populations are, what individuals are doing movement-wise, that's huge, and there are kind of unlimited uses for that. So being able to put that all in a giant database is incredibly helpful to help us better protect all of these species.
Yeah. Any other tips on how people at home, especially also people that are not really by the ocean a lot, can actually help protect marine species, do ocean conservation? Any of your top 2 tips, maybe?
Ooh.
Or top 1 tip?
How to protect the ocean, how to protect manta rays.
Yes, it doesn't necessarily have to be just mantas, because it's obviously hard for people that sit, let's say, in Austria or somewhere like in a landlocked country to protect the manta. But
I think it just simply starts with just identifying yourself as an ocean positive person. And the moment you do that, so many little aspects will change about your everyday actions, what you do. You might be more conscious about what you're putting into your body, or what products you are using, or what products you're putting on your body. We talked earlier about reef safe sunscreen. That's such an easy thing that you can think about. Like these small little actions that you can do on a global scale make a massive difference. So without the beautiful reef that cleaner fish live in, without that, you don't have the manta rays coming to that spot. So you have to think of it from the bottom up. Protect the reef, to protect the fish, to protect the manta ray. Think small. You do that, then we'll have these big creatures for us for generations to come. So if we're going to say one thing, sunscreen. Easy.
I don't know if I agree with that. Because problem with sunscreen is that, oh no, I can't get into this. It's a long spiel. I recorded an 8-minute TikTok on it once, and I never posted it because I was like, wow, that's 8 minutes of ramble. I agree with you in the sense that I think we should all be super conscious of what we're putting on and in our bodies and in the oceans. My only qualm with sunscreen, of course, reef safe sunscreen, is that reef safe sunscreen doesn't actually exist. It's just a marketing term. There is no legal foundation for the words reef safe, reef friendly, or any of that. It's not like vegan or cruelty free. There's no certifying body. There's no set of rules. There's no anything. Different countries ban different chemicals, with oxybenzone, octinoxate, and octocrylene being the 3 main ones. They're not all banned in all countries. Some are banned in some are banned in others. But actually, there are 12 big chemicals that are UV.
Can you think of a brand that you do think is good?
That's also a challenging one to answer. I'm kind of still on the hunt, because the ones that don't have these specific chemicals in aren't as good at sunscreen. Zinc is probably the best answer, but you have to make sure that you're buying non-nano zinc, because nano zinc is also toxic. Zinc in high quantities is toxic to marine life. This is why I don't talk about the sunscreen one, because it's such a minefield. Right. But my point being, some of these other 12 chemicals have been shown in other studies to be even more harmful to coral, because the problem is this ban that came out in Hawaii initially was a ban that was done on very, very, very preliminary research. And a lot more research has been done since then. Anyway, basically, someone needs to set up a standardizing, certifying body to do way more research and figure it out. But my point being is, just because something says it is reef friendly or reef safe on the tin doesn't actually mean that it is. A bigger problem for that is sewage pollution, because the amount of chemicals that go out through sewage pollution is more than we could ever wear on our skin in our entire lifetime. But my thing, obviously, I think it's actually really important to look at what chemicals we're using across the board, because our oceans are in serious trouble, and all of the chemicals that are finding their way into our ocean is doing a huge amount of damage. But if you are stuck at home, like you said, Myron, in like a landlocked country, and you're not necessarily by the ocean, or you haven't been for a long time, or you can't get there, I said it earlier in the chat, but use your voice. We have this incredible power of social media right now. We have so many resources available to us. If you want to learn more about coral reefs in particular, PADI has several amazing courses, but also if you are unable to get into any practical side, there's a platform called edX, set up by the University of Harvard in collaboration with loads of universities, and they have loads of courses free on there that you can audit. Knowledge is power. Learn as much as you can, absorb as much information as you can, and then tell as many people as you can. Because our ocean, Chasing Coral, the documentary said it the best, our ocean has a PR issue, it has a marketing issue. Not enough people know about both the beauty and the problems it faces, and so if you can use your voice, I think that's so important.
Yeah, oh, that is some really, really good points.
I take mine back. I want you guys to get a bigger hat. And I want everybody to go to PADI.com and order a flashcard. They're really good. And community questions.
Nate's on side.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him the 8-minute spiel after this.
And yeah, I mean, so we have obviously the Ocean Torch Fair community. So this is something where we ask you guys to join our community of ocean lovers, to stay connected with us, to learn more about anything ocean conservation, etc. Also, what is very easy to do from the couch, wherever you are, is to donate to the PADI Aware Foundation, which will help with the shark and ray census, with the protection of these species, and coming up with the data program, etc. But yeah, as I said, spreading the word is so important.
Yeah.
Speaking to your community, even if you only have a couple of hundred people on your social media, or just your family, talk and share the love. But we also have a couple of comments, which is wonderful. So someone's actually currently at the airport, flying to the Maldives, asking, where can I see mantas? So, I mean, we are currently obviously in the Bar Atoll. What other atolls do you know where we could?
If you're coming to Maldives right now, I would say to come here. Come to Hanafari Bay. Nate was saying earlier, you can see chains of mantas here, lots and lots of mantas at the same time. It's very well regulated here, and this is the best time of the year to come and see them as well, between June and November. So come up to Bar Atoll, try and have a dive in Hanafari Bay. Well, you can't dive there, a free dive, a snorkel. It's the wrong time of the year for oceanics, sadly, in Maldives. Unless you're very lucky and one just happens to pass through, which is always more
did
special.
happen 2 days ago.
Did you get an oceanic?
No. Sorry, I thought we were talking about ocean.
Oh no,
sorry. Okay, well now I'm confused.
Very
with the situation. And then Marie is asking, what is your favorite shallow 30 to 60 foot dive, and how could I go on an expedition dive trip?
30-foot dive. Okay, so
in the world.
In the world.
I think so. Yeah.
Favorite shallow dive.
In the entire world, not related to mantas.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Yeah. You have one? A lot of mine are deep, to be honest with you. Deep diving. Okay, I got one.
I don't know how deep 30 feet is actually.
One of my favorite dives is in Kona, Hawaii, right outside the harbor, called Harbor Dive. And I love it because you can shore dive it, but go with a beautiful operator, because shore diving is hard. But on a dive, I've seen dolphins, manta rays, tiger sharks, octopus, like all of this on a single dive.
Oh wow!
On a single dive, yeah. It's I think it's not that well known out there in the world, that this one spot is just beaming with life. I absolutely love it. And if we're there, I would say the Ningaloo, Northwest Australia. I think a lot of this, my answer is because I like big stuff. Sometimes big stuff that can, the toothy stuff too, that kind of stuff. And so those are the dives that I come out of the water just like, ooh, I love it.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, to be honest, I've really got into diving in the UK recently. In the last few years. I think it's because I've spent most of my career in the Indo-Pacific. So during COVID was the first time I'd ever actually gone for a dive in my own home country. And there's something about, I mean, you were speaking the other day about Forest in Cape Town. We don't have quite the same thing in England, but like there's something about, you know, I actually, forgive me because I'm also not a temperate biologist, but kelpy seaweedy things going on in the UK. Oh, it's magical. It's like a forest down there. So I'd have to say that's probably one of my favorite dives in the entire world.
Yeah, I love the kelp forest as well. But yeah, don't really find mantas there. So
no, sorry, no mantas there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining today. I think our session is coming to an end. We had lots of people, joining, being really interested in, the PADI Aware Week, which is obviously happening this year, in like every year. This is the 8th year, so every year in September for 1 week, where we do lots of amazing ocean activities and ocean conservation work, and anyone can really get involved. Any ocean lover can do a beach cleanup, can do anything, give a presentation, work with kids, whatever it is, just something to spread the love and awareness about the ocean, its threats and its possibilities. And then obviously we should talk a lot about our favorite marine animal, and how we can protect it with CITES coming up, with the census, etc. So there's lots of exciting things happening where we can all get involved in a very easy way. So thank you so much. Thank you all for joining tonight, wherever you are in the world. I saw a few people are on their way to work. I know it's very early in the States. It's rather late here in the Maldives. So thank you very much. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah,
we go dive with mantas tomorrow. Sorry, guys.
We hope.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye-bye.